What is going on, my YouTube gamers out there? Hopefully everybody is doing fantastic. For those of you that haven't actually watched all of She-Hulk, or at least up to this point watched every episode, consider yourself extremely lucky. There is no FOMO here. There is nothing to keep up to date with. It's better to live in blissful ignorance. I envy your brain cells. They haven't been exposed to such heinous, poisonous content. But for those of us that have been powering through every single episode, I feel like we deserve a shout out from Kevin Feige or some sort of medal for our accomplishments, or our console should give us some sort of achievement for getting this far into the show. We belong in the Ripley's record book at this point. Regardless, I wanted to give you guys my personal take on this show and kind of give you guys a brief summary of what's going on, all of the big cameo appearances that have been featured on the show thus far. This video is being made with the assumption that none of you guys will watch the show or have much interest in really watching it at a later date. The entirety of the show basically revolves around Jennifer Walters gaining these superpower abilities, all while trying to live just a normal dating life for a 30-year-old something lawyer. And the entire show is basically her assuming that some of the individuals that she ends up going on dates with don't like her because she's this big, giant, 7-foot green, bulking woman. But that really has nothing to do with it. At the end of the day, it has more to do with her snarky and absolutely over-the-top feminist personality. The entirety of the show, you're going to wonder why Marvel and Kevin Feige approved that style of writing or that style of character. The entire time that Bruce is trying to, teach her to control her powers, which is basically like the first couple of episodes, she goes around like parading her self-control and how she never is able to lose sight of her emotions and how she's so much better than, Bruce. There's even this like anticlimactic fight, which we already know they've completely nerfed Hulk in the MCU, which is like a complete insult to those of us that are, big Marvel comic book readers or fans. But that's basically the gist of, the Jennifer Walters side of things. She's trying to become a lawyer while simultaneously balancing her life. And yes, this scene is canon. It actually took place on a Disney Plus streaming service. And like I said, Kevin Feige signed off. There are some semi-decent cameo appearances from Wong. And then eventually we get to see the Abomination himself, who has also been Disney-fied. He is no longer that crazed military general that he was at one point. He is now just basically this completely zen and ultra sarcastic and snarky character that we've seen Disney or Marvel continue to just copy and paste and reuse over and over. The show literally has almost no scenes, at least up to this point, where I can take anything serious. There's nothing on the line. There's nothing of importance happening. We do get to see obviously a Daredevil appearance. We get to see his I believe it's kind of a cameo appearance with his costume being showcased in episode number 7, and then in episode number 8 we finally get to see Matt Murdock in costume in action, and as is expected, he looks like the most generic CGI you can think of. From what I remember in the Netflix show, there were some obviously stunt doubles involved, but it looked like a very gritty, very realistic, very down-to-earth fighting style, and it definitely looked like Matt Murdock could be defeated at any point. When it comes to the MCU, he basically looks like this ragdoll just jumping across, just destroying, wrecking individuals, and She-Hulk actually just ends up taking care of him pretty easily. Eventually they become kind of this romantic couple, or there is a romantic aspect to it between them two. I have absolutely no problem with it. It did seem like they had some pretty good on-screen chemistry, and in case you guys are wondering, at least from the scenes that were visible, no, she is not She-Hulk when they are getting down and busy, at least from what we could see in the snippets. Get your mind out of the gutter, guys. Let's not talk about that. Let's not get into that. But as I mentioned, there could be a potential Thunderbolts Red Hulk involved. She mentions that at the end of episode number 8, but that's really probably as high of an appearance as you could probably mention in this show. There's literally nothing going on. It connects up to this point nothing whatsoever to the MCU, and that's a big issue, especially when we've been seeing they're good solid shows, right? I mean, you look at shows, for example, like Moon Knight, which was pretty good. You look at shows like Loki and WandaVision. They're good shows, and I guess they kind of set up films to an extent extent, really just trying to understand their psyche and their emotions and what they're going through, especially with the WandaVision show. But they add nothing to the MCU. They're just basically throwaway TV series, or series on Disney Plus. They hold no value, and you could honestly skip them. You could probably read a brief synopsis online and just be ready for the next phase of the MCU, which is really frustrating. It's absolutely devastating for those of us that want to see more, that want to really immerse ourselves into the MCU, but we haven't had that opportunity thus far, especially with this show. There is also a wedding scene in there, which I'm not going to get into either. It's just absolutely cringe. It's cheesiness over the top. As I mentioned, there's very little value when it comes down to this show. It's not the worst show ever. I think it's an enjoyable show, but it just holds no value in the grander scheme of things. I would absolutely not recommend it unless you are into big 7-foot, gargantuan, strong women and overly the top feminist. She looks like the kind of woman that would probably choke slam you onto a concrete floor for trying to hold the door open for her. Nobody will get this reference, but she kind of reminds me of a more powerful and strong Les Lemon from 30 Rock. But anyways, guys, that is my personal opinion. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think. I'm very interested to hear from people that have actually enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section, what have you guys enjoyed the most, or what have you guys hated the most? Very interested to see your guys' perspective on it. Stay safe out there, guys. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you.